What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 32 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Cody.
And today we are, we're celebrating every day, but today is the 5-week anniversary of the Dodgers winning the World Series. I don't care. I'm going to remember this every week. We're going to talk about it. It doesn't matter. We're going to live on this forever. I'm still celebrating it every day. I'm still wearing my championship gear. I got my shirt on, my hat on, and all of that good stuff. So let's get into this week's episode. First thing I have to do, we have to wish Vin Scully a happy 93rd birthday. He celebrated that on Sunday. So happy birthday to you, Vin. 93 years. And to be honest, you would never guess it listening to him talk, watching him post his videos on social media. You would have no idea that that man is 93 years old. So keep kicking, keep doing it. I want him to be there at Dodger Stadium when the Dodgers win a World Series. So I need the Dodgers. We need COVID to go away first, but I need the Dodgers to win again and give Vin that chance to be there and celebrate as a fan and not have to worry about working it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
An update on Tommy Lasorda, of course, another Dodger legend. He remains in intensive care at the hospital, but his condition has improved, according to Bill Plunkett of the OC Register. So he was admitted to the hospital a week ago on November 8th, and he was briefly on a ventilator, but he was taken off of it a week ago. The ventilator part was a little scary. I'm not going to assume anything. They said it has nothing to do with COVID. Timeline kind of lines up a little bit weirdly, considering he went to Texas for Game 6 and ended up in the hospital about 10 days later. So they said it wasn't COVID. I'll go ahead and believe him. And the fact that he's coming off the ventilator makes me kind of believe it even more. So hopefully this is nothing as intense as that. And he recovers very quickly, because these last few years we've had some scares with him, unfortunately, in the hospital, because he does have heart conditions. So I don't want to hope it's anything like that, but I just want to hope it's nothing serious enough that we have to keep stressing out.
I had no idea that he was at Game 6.
Yeah, I found that in the whatever it was called, in his article, in Bill Plunkett's article, and that was on October 27th, and he was admitted on November 8th. So although for an older guy, he probably would have been in there sooner, if we're being honest. So it's probably not COVID. I just don't want it to be, because man, that stuff is tearing apart older people, and that would just be an awful way to go. Although, let's be honest, Tommy Lasorda was not going to miss that World Series celebration for anything.
I guess not.
So I don't blame him. He's been through so much that's all that dude cares about at this point. So hey, I respect it. News, I don't want to say around the league, but mentioning the Dodgers and players available. You and I have talked about this name quite a few times, but the Dodgers are showing some interest in Brad Hand. And John Morrissey from MLB Network has said that he seems to fit into the Blake Treinen role, which makes a lot of sense. If the Dodgers don't re-sign Blake Treinen, I wouldn't mind seeing both of them. I don't see why we couldn't have both, but I would be happy with Hand if Treinen doesn't work out. You're a fan of Hand, I believe. Was that correct?
I think he's good. I mean, so he's obviously a bullpen upgrade. He led the league in saves last year with 16, and the most important thing is he didn't blow a save, so that's always nice to see. He had 29 strikeouts in 22 innings while only walking 4. Again, the issues are overall his velocity was down, but the more I looked into him after seeing that they were interested in him, I saw that he started the year at 90 miles an hour, but as the season went on, his velocity started ticking up a bit, and by the end of the year, he was throwing 92 miles an hour. So at least maybe that's some positive to look at. However, in the postseason, it's a very small sample size. He's only pitched like four innings or 5 innings, but he's given up 4 runs. So not great. However, I still think he's an upgrade over Jansen in the closer role.
Yeah, and when I said you're a fan, I didn't mean like you like care for the guy. I just meant in the sense of him coming to the Dodgers. You like the idea, but
he's my favorite player.
I can't take you seriously anymore with these favorite player things. You said that about Kike too, and I think the whole podcast knows that. But hey, we got to show love for Kike after that October performance, Kike. So we're not allowed to talk bad about him anymore. Yeah, Brad Hand I think would be exciting. I like the move. I know a lot of fans were kind of like, not with not Dodger fans, but fans of other teams. I've seen some comments like fans saying he sucked and stuff like this, and I'm just kind of very confused by it. Maybe he wasn't the greatest, maybe he had his moments, but he's definitely an upgrade than what we have. Not over everyone in the bullpen, obviously, but I think he'd be a great addition. And like you mentioned, his velocity went up, which if you kind of look at the timing, especially for starting pitchers, because they don't play every day, that would kind of make sense that had COVID not happened and he stayed on a regular kind of schedule, then maybe that his velocity would have started the season like that. So it's really hard to judge pitchers off of this year more than anything. Hitters, it's a little tough. Pitchers, I think it's even harder because their way of getting ready and preparing is so much more intense with having to get their arms ready. And a lot of guys didn't do that. We saw that with Buehler this year, that he kind of took time off until he actually had an answer of when baseball was starting. And then Buehler got back into it. Took him a little bit to get started. Once he started doing his thing, he looked great. But again, if you look at his ERA, you would kind of think like, Buehler's season wasn't as great. But again, look at the end half, look at the playoffs, things change. So I'd be happy with Brad Hand. Bullpen and third base is the biggest thing in my mind. I think Turner's coming back, but until that's official, third base is still something we have to figure out. But for the Dodgers, as always, because they are as good as they are, and Andrew Friedman is as good as he is, the Dodgers were actually voted by Baseball America as the organization of the year. And Andrew Friedman did win Executive of the Year through MLB, but he also won it through Baseball America as well. And I know there are fans that have said this and say it would be embarrassing if the Dodgers weren't organization of the year, considering they won the World Series. However, that's not what this means. It's not who the best team is. 2019 was the Rays. So you've really got to give credit to the Dodgers as a whole organization from top to bottom, that they're just getting things done. This is a huge thing for their development. I think it speaks on their development more than anything. When you see a lot of guys like Buehler, guys who came up in our system that are consistently succeeding. So I had to point that out, that like, this isn't the Dodgers got this because they won the World Series. They got this because they're a hell of an organization and they know what they're doing from top to bottom with their players and making them.
Andrew Friedman got this because he traded for Mookie Betts and then signed him to a 12-year deal.
Yeah, that Mookie Betts extension, like the trading, it was a big deal, I think, for him, but Red Sox made it very known they were going to get rid of him. So I think a team would have ended up with Mookie. But for him to get Mookie to sign that extension before ever playing a game or a regular season game for the Dodgers is some wild shit, in my opinion. Impressive. I love it. But like, that is a crazy thing Friedman was able to do to get the biggest free agent on the market, or would have been in 2021, to lock him up to a 12-year contract without ever playing a game. So Andrew Friedman,
he must have really enjoyed that spring training with the Dodgers.
Yeah, no kidding. It's plus, I mean, he mentioned it himself. You can't beat that weather. I went to Boston last year in July, and you would have thought, being outside walking around for 5 minutes, you would have thought you jumped in a pool. It was disgusting. I hated it. I think 97 humidity, 95 degrees all weekend. So I don't blame you, Mookie. At least here you've got a little bit more dry heat and you can go jump in your pool afterwards. So, hey, well, he's here. So I'm happy. I didn't care what Friedman had to do. He got the job done. I think he's on a different level compared to a lot of the other executives in baseball. Tomorrow.
Also, getting Bruce was pretty good too, though.
Yeah, because what was it at first? Like, we weren't getting, were we getting Mookie and
just getting Betts and Price?
Yeah, Betts and Price. And then
we did have supposed to go to Boston.
Yeah.
Part of a 3-way deal.
Yeah, so he was supposed to go to Boston, but I don't think the Dodgers were supposed to pick up on anything extra. So they did have to give up a better prospect. They ended up having to give up Downs in the trade, which I think is what ended up getting them Bruzdar. But I like it. I like the move. I would have liked Downs. So I liked him. I liked watching him. All the luck to him in Boston. We could have.
I just don't think there was anywhere for him to really play, I think.
No, I think, let's be honest, I think if we had a better idea of what was going on with Gavin Lux, they would have traded Gavin Lux and maybe kept just Lux and Verdugo. I'm not saying Lux over Verdugo, but I don't know. I think Friedman was going to do whatever he could to make that trade happen. And it seems like a lot. This is 100%. I'm saying this on hindsight, what happened with Gavin Lux's 2020. Go back prior to that, there's no way in hell I would have said Verdugo and Lux. So I know nobody can see you on the podcast, but I know the look on your face was like, why would you do that? And I'm only saying that because of hindsight 2020. I'm not like, if we go back, Gavin Lux was on my no touch list when the trade was being talked about. I did not want it.
I still don't think, even after the 2020, there's no way Friedman will ever do that.
No, Friedman might not have. I'm just saying hindsight, when we look at what we need, Jeter Downs might have been ready, have been able to be ready to go somewhat maybe next 2021.
Maybe.
But Lux might still too. We don't know. I'm not giving up on Lux as long as he's on the team. I'm going to give him the chance. The dude is young as hell. He needs consistent playing time. So until I see him get that consistent playing time, I'm not going to hold anything against him. I'm glad we have him. He was a top prospect for a reason. So I got nothing against it. Just like I said, I liked Jeter Downs a lot. So I was not
about to see.
I was not a big fan when they announced that he was being traded to Boston. So,
yeah.
But with that said, the non-tender deadline is tomorrow. I couldn't get a time on it. My guess is it's noon Eastern or Pacific time. It's usually noon, one of those times. However, so by that time, whatever the time is tomorrow, every team has to decide whether to offer the players on its 40-man roster with fewer than 6 years of service time. So basically, you're kind of like your arbitration guys, whether or not you're going to offer them a contract for 2021. This isn't how much they have to be paid. This isn't how long. This is just whether or not they are tendering them a contract, which means they are going to get to a contract. They just don't know what that is yet. I was reading something on MLB.com, and they gave a non-tender candidate for each team. Ken Gernick believes that Scott Alexander could potentially be a non-tender guy for the Dodgers, which I could see being possible. I just don't totally know with everything going on with Ferguson, what they're going to do with lefties. However, I just don't know how much they're going to, I mean, Alexander's cheap, but he just hasn't, did he even play much last year? I don't even remember the guy. He was always at the training site. I felt like at the alternate training site.
I think he started the year there, but he had an issue with walks, much like Trinan did before Trinan kind of figured it out. He kept walking everybody. And so they sent him down to the training site. And
he just never came back, right? I felt like, I was going to say, I felt like we saw him for a couple games, then he just fell off the face of the earth and we never heard of him again. So I have no idea what the Dodgers will do. Non-tendering would open up a 40 if they don't non-tender him, or if they don't tender him a contract. They will open up a spot on the roster, 40-man. So it just depends on what the Dodgers want to do. Depends on obviously that 5-man or the Rule 5 draft, any of that good stuff. So if they don't tender Alexander or any player, just so you guys know around baseball, if it says that they are not tendering a contract, that player immediately becomes a free agent. And some there's plenty of reasons why players will be non-tendered. And I think we're going to see maybe not so much, because I think you said the talent, there weren't that many guys to look at, but we might see some guys get non-tendered who might not deserve it. But because of money with COVID and everything going on, teams might non-tender a player because they don't think he's worth what his arbitration numbers may look like that this upcoming year. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the Dodgers have too much to worry about.
Yeah. I was going to say Alexander, I think, is only $1 million. So it's really not that much. So it wouldn't surprise me if they bring him back, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they just non-tendered him. As I was looking through that article, I did see a few names that I thought were interesting. I mean, this is just what the writers are thinking. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But the writer for the Brewers MLB.com had said Corey Knebel might be non-tendered because the Brewers don't want to pay him the $5 or $6 million. He had a down season because of injuries, but when he's healthy, he's been pretty good. So I think that's an interesting name to keep an eye on. If I'm the Dodgers, I'd probably take a flyer on him, much like they did with Trinan. Same for Hansel Robles from the Angels. He had a fantastic 2019, a really bad 2020, but I'd take another flyer on him too. Another interesting name was Johan Camargo, third baseman, shortstop, second baseman from the Braves. A bit inconsistent, but he had 2 really good years. So I think he could be a solid pseudo utility option.
Yeah, I'm not that this even has to do with what, I mean, in a sense it does. I don't know if non-tender guys will be that big of a deal, but if I'm a team, I'm pretty annoyed right now that MLB has not bothered to tell me or whether or not we're going to have a DH in 2021. Because with the non-tender deadline coming up, we're running into winter meetings next week. You're going to start having all these guys start to sign, teams wanting to figure out their rosters, what pieces they need, who fits where, how much they can spend. And yet we still don't even know if there's going to be a DH.
I think there will be. I just don't know why they're taking so long, but
yeah, I think there will be too. Especially I think after COVID, players are really going to be looking for jobs. And if you can provide 15 extra jobs in the NL for players who are having a hard time getting money because of COVID right now, and not to mention, we don't know what kind of season we're going to see in 2021. And we unfortunately saw quite a few pitcher injuries, serious injuries this year. I don't know if I want any of my pitchers hitting next year, especially if it's not a full season and they're not getting full at bats in spring training. We saw how quickly players, we saw, what was it? I think it was Soroka with his Achilles. We don't know, like Mike Clevenger, if that was a short season type injury, and now he's out for God knows a year and a half, 2 years. So it's all this
I think with Clevenger, it was just a ticking time bomb, unfortunately. I feel like he's had some arm issues before, and that it was just a matter of time before his arm kind of just exploded or whatever the case happened to him.
Yeah, and he also has that wild motion that is insane. Yeah. Like there's so many moving parts that it's insane to me he hasn't like gotten seriously injured prior to this. But yeah, if I'm an MLB, even a player, if I'm a player, someone like Marcell Ozuna, like I'm sitting here being a little pissed off, like, can we figure out what we're doing? Because Marcell Ozuna as a DH is pretty valuable right now if you're an NL team. But if you don't need a left fielder and outfielder, you're kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. And speaking of Marcell Ozuna, this is totally off topic, but I found it really funny mentioning left fielders. Did you hear he left his agent and why he left his agent? So he left his agent because one of the selling points for his agent was he's one of the best left fielders in baseball defensively.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I just can't stop thinking about that play in St. Louis where he jumped up on the wall and face planted on the ground.
And what's crazy though with the Marlins, I think he was actually graded as like a decent fielder.
Yeah, he was. I don't know what happened.
I don't know how. I mean, he hurt his arm, but that has nothing to do with like
shouldn't have to do with
your range and everything else. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but he's kind of just fell off the face of the earth and just completely just went to, okay, I'm just going to hit everything now.
Yeah, unless it was a timid thing that was like, I don't want to get another injury, but as an outfielder is your arm, unless you like were Kemp and crashed into a wall, which I don't know if that's how he got hurt, but if that's not the case, I don't know why. But yeah, apparently Ozuna was not a big fan of his free agent trying to pitch him as a top left fielder, which like, I don't blame him. Like maybe talk about something else,
that's
but not
really
that.
Funny.
So I just had to bring that up. But let's get into, we have some free agents that we've talked about multiple times. We don't know where we're going to end up. We've talked about hopefully, or maybe some of them come back, maybe some of them don't. Some of them will not come back. However, something we wanted to do was to kind of figure out if we can kind of nail the contracts. Not so much me, more so Konu, because you're better with that stuff. But with COVID, I think this might get a little bit more difficult for you. So if you want to get that started, and we'll see how you do.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to do great, but this is just fun for me. So Justin Turner made $19 million last year. I did not know that, honestly. Yeah, I wouldn't give him any more than 8, to be honest. I know, but personally, I think he'll sign something like 2 years for 24, so about 12 a year, and it's going to be Dodgers probably. But I mean, the Jays have come running in, and then Stripling had that tweet was like, "Does me wishing him a happy birthday count?" I thought that was funny too. So
Stripling got lit up by everyone, like in a fun way. Even Oral Hershiser was like, "No, you can talk to him after he signs with us. Do not even text Turner right now."
Yeah, I mean, I guess by now you guys know how I feel, Turner. You can go to the Jays. I'm fine with that.
I don't think the Dodgers will bring him back if he's not willing to take less money. I just don't think there is. I think the Dodgers know that for Turner.
If he's looking for more than 19, he's not getting that anyway.
No, yeah, but I just mean in general, I think he's going to stay in LA. He may have to take a pay cut They have guys they need to think about, like Seager. You just had Mookie's. You're going to have Bellinger, Buehler. And even if it's a 2-year contract, you still have to think about those guys like Seager for 1 year, Bellinger in arbitration. He's good. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a place for him on the team if they want to make a place. He's a leader. I just think it's always about how much you're willing to pay for someone. I don't want to say for Turner taking up a roster spot because he's still very capable of hitting. If they have a DH, I think he'd be the perfect fit. But they need him more than a DH. Right now, if he's going to be playing third base, he might have to take a little bit of that pay cut because he just hasn't had it. And him playing third base every day or 5 days a week is asking for an injury to come along the way, which then the Dodgers have to find a way to work with. So I do agree with you that he's not going to see anywhere near towards $19 million a year.
I just want to get out in front of this. There are going to be times during this offseason where I say players should get the most money that they can, and they should. But also, I'm going to say that a team should give this player this much just because.
Well, it's a business.
Yes, that it is a business. And how much would you really want to pay this player, if we're being honest? Now, if a team signs Turner for, let's say, 3 years, $60 million, give him $20 million a year, would I personally do that if I was running an organization? Hell no. But I'm happy for him to get all that money because that means somebody thought you were worth it.
Yeah.
So that's just a thing. I can play both sides of the fence.
I think it's the very difference between it's in the middle of being a diehard fan and looking at it as a business. You can be a diehard fan and also look at it as a business, but it's where you run into this things that, like, I agree with you. I want these players to get as much as they possibly can. That doesn't mean I want them getting it from the Dodgers, but I mean, it's just how it is. It's a business. Yeah. There's a luxury tax. I know how it works. It's nothing against Turner. It's the future of the entire team and how to make all of that work. And not having to give up on someone like Seager because they go and sign Turner for $15 million more, and Seager goes, "You're not going to give me what I want. I'm getting out." Like that to me, that can't happen. So there's a lot to it.
And no disrespect to Turner, I think he's meant more to the team so far. But Seager's 26 and Turner's 10 years older, so yeah, he's going to be one of the future spots of this team. But we're going to move on to Jock Peterson. He made $7.7 million. He's coming off a bit of a down year, had a really great playoffs, but he always has great playoffs. So a team could, find a lot of value in that. I think he's only 28, if I'm not mistaken. So I can see him getting like 3 years, maybe $26.6 million. The teams could be interested are the Cardinals, Braves, Indians, and Marlins because they all need power hitting outfield help.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sure you remember this. I don't know if you remember the money, or the number, but Jock was, when he was arguing in arbitration this year, I think he wanted something
asking for 10.
It was a 10 or 11, something like that. He ended up with 7.7.
He's not getting that.
Yeah, no.
I think 26.6 is like 8.
Okay.
8 something.
Yeah. No, I don't see him getting a ton, unless he goes to a team that's just kind of like, we just want to sign a guy that can mash righties and that's like super important to them, then maybe. But I don't think he's going to get a lot from a contending team just because they're not going to want to pick up a guy who just hits righties. A lot of teams don't have the ability like the Dodgers to carry players who can do that because a lot of teams don't have.
This is where the DH comes in hand. I mean, like you said, it hurts Marcell Ozuna. I think it hurts Jock Peterson just as much.
It does. It definitely does. If there was a DH for sure, that's 15 more jobs that some people might be looking at Jock for. So I did want to say yesterday, Jock posted a video of himself working out and like, I saw that. I kind of felt bad because I had the same feeling as everyone else that I posted on Dodger Yard. I didn't say anything negative. I was just like, Jock's getting that work in before free agency. But like, I feel bad saying this, but like, dog, where was all that when you were just on the team? Like, come on, man. Everyone's commenting under the post, like, what's he working? And not just that. People were making fun of the workout. Everyone was like, are you trying to do Dancing with the Stars? Yeah. Like everyone's like, bro, what are you doing? I saw it and
I was like, listen, I'm not a health expert or I'm not a fitness trainer or anything like that, but I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah.
But listen, yes, you can question where was this when you're on the team, but also he's now a free agent. He needs to get that money for his family. So
no,
I
I
can
don't.
understand players really working out in the offseason to show
Absolutely.
teams like I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm ready to go.
I don't blame him one bit, and I don't blame him for putting on social media because, hey, let them see it. Let them see you're putting in that work. I'm just saying from a fan perspective, like, what the hell, man?
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about 2020.
Absolutely.
2020 aside, I am not saying one thing about Jock's 2020. We know he had family issues, so I don't even care about that. Not to mention he dominated in the playoffs like he does every year. No, I want to see Jock get all the money he can, so put in that work, do what you got to do. I don't think he ends up back with the Dodgers at all, though. So I
don't either. That's why he wasn't on my list.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the money he's going to get because I don't think it's coming from LA.
So, we're gonna. Kike made 5.9 last year. I guess I can see him getting 3 for 11.7. I think that makes a lot of sense for Kike. The Marlins, Yankees, Mets, Giants makes sense too because I mean Kike can play all over the place, and some of these people need infield help, and the Yankees need infield depth, and Kike also play the outfield as well. So I think those are some good landing spots for Kike, and 3 for 11.7 I think is slightly less than what he made last year, but he gets 3 years of it. So
yeah, depends on it. It's always the weird part of free agency. If players want to go less money, longer years, or I think it all just depends on I think it all just depends on the teams. And it's the thing is, people will listen to this and go, why is he going to make less than like last year? Why would any player? But we also really I feel like people are really, really going to have to bring in mind like what COVID's doing to the value and to players and to what owners are going to be paying. Like a lot of these guys, I feel bad for a lot of these guys, not so much Turner because he's already done the whole I hit free agency after my rookie contract. But I feel really bad for the guys that are finishing up their first rookie contract, like Jock and Kike, and like they wait their whole career for this. You play 6 years in the big leagues for this moment to finally get that one contract that'll hopefully set you up for at least 5-6 years, depending on the player. And it's like COVID's going to come and rip that away from so many guys, and even very deserving players are going to get money taken away from them. So,
I mean, that's why the Indians didn't give was it 6? I don't remember how much Brad had.
I think it was 10.
They didn't want to 10.
Yeah.
That's why they want to pay Brad Head. Brad Head I think he's worth 10 million, but because of the economy we're in, it's unfortunate he won't be able to get that.
And not to mention the lack of knowing what's going to happen in baseball next year. We don't know if there's going to be fans. Teams have no idea when fans. I mean, we're not going to go into this because I told you we don't have any like legit. There was just the one person on Twitter. Now they're talking about spring training possibly being pushed back and opening day not being till May. So if you take that away, that's 4 to 6 weeks. Now you're taking away pay from fans being in the stands. So all of that is you really got to keep in mind when you're looking at contract numbers this offseason, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so Blake Trinan signed for 10 million this year, was just 1 year. 3 years for 21, I think sounds about right. Or he might be able to get 24 million for those 3 years. And the teams I have for Trinan are Dodgers, White Sox, and Phillies, just because they all desperately need bullpen help, and I think he can help, especially the Phillies. And the White Sox are a playoff team, so they could use him, and the Phillies are on the cusp. They're not there yet, but so I think those are some good teams for Trinan to go to.
I'd like to see him come back. I don't know if they might do another 3 year, but like they did with Kelly, that's the only reason why I don't know if they will.
Yeah, if he's looking for 3, I don't think the Dodgers go 3 though.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
2 and higher
annual
AAV. Average, yeah. But I don't see them going 3 for Trinan.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Team will give him 3.
Yeah, I think I can see him getting 3 from another team making that kind of money. I just don't see it coming from the Dodgers, but I do agree. 2 years higher AAV will probably get him in LA if the Dodgers want him, of course.
Yeah. And then we move on to everybody's favorite Alex Wood. He made $4 million, I believe. So I had him 1 year, $2.2 million to the Red Sox, just because the Red Sox desperately need pitching. And
he needs a rebound. He needs a rebound.
I'm not saying it'll be good pitching, yeah, but it's a start.
Yeah, he needs the opportunity to go out there and pitch again and maybe have a chance to sign a longer contract. But yeah, after injury after
he was
injury
bad all year except for game
the
6.
playoff. Yeah, he did well. He showed up when he needed to, when we needed him the most in October. But yeah, teams usually aren't going to just run off that, especially for a starting pitcher. Maybe a relief pitcher like the Dodgers did with Joe Kelly in 2018. But yeah, I don't see Wood wanting to even take a longer contract because I just don't think he'll get that much money where he could go and have a decent year, whether it's the Red Sox, anywhere else, and at least get maybe a couple million more per year instead of not selling out, but taking a 5-year contract now and not making much money.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of players a lot of surprising players too might take the 1-year deal just to let kind of build back up, and then and then the year after go after it.
And I was also thinking like the players that didn't have a good season, like teams are going to be dicks and try and go, oh well, your 2020 sucked, so we can't, like teams are going to try and use that against players, and it's complete bullshit because it's only 60 games. So yeah, some of those players, they might get some offers and they might be like, I might just want to take a year. They might bet on themselves, take a year and hope that they have a better season and can get more money. I don't think it'll happen, actually, I might have to change this opinion now that I found out more information. I was going to say Jock might do that to get more money, but then I thought family. But I found out his wife is the daughter of the CEO of Apple. So I think Jock, money-wise, he's going to focus more on what he enjoys doing and where he's happy. So he may take a 1-year deal. Yeah, I didn't know that until a few days ago. And I was like, and I was like, oh shit, this explains why Jock is popping off in Cabo on private jets all the time.
That's so wild.
Yeah, so I think
they're good on money.
Yeah, it makes it all started to really bring around to me why Jock has made, do not judge him one bit for this, but it has made 100%, makes all the sense to me in the world why he is such a family man, and baseball doesn't really seem like a top priority to him, which again, I don't blame him that he puts his family first. I respect it. He should do what is best for him and his family. But I also think it's because he knows he's always going to make decent money. But for him, he's not like the baseball player who has to go and support his entire family for the rest of their lives. He clearly has his wife, who I would imagine is working in some sense, or can work in some sense if she wants to. And so I think for him, he's going to want to stay close to home. So I think it's going to be whatever allows him to stay around his family the most, which I'm happy for him. I hope he gets to do that. And I hope he just does whatever makes him and his family happy, because I got to say, I love watching him and his wife post not his wife, but him posting pictures of him and his little family together. They are very cute.
So last but not least, Pedro Baez. He also made $4 million. He's an interesting case. I don't know. He's pretty good during the regular season, not good in the playoffs, and we all know his struggles when he comes in with people on base, which is kind of important because you're likely to come with people on base. But 2 years for 11.4. I have the Dodgers, Reds, and Yankees listed because again, they all need bullpen help. And I just think the Reds make sense because they have a pretty, even though they're talking about trading Sonny Gray and Bauer might be gone, but they have a pretty strong rotation. So I think he can help out the bullpen just a tiny bit. He's better than I'm blanking on his name, the one who fought the whole Pirates bench.
Amir Garrett.
Amir Garrett, thank you. He's got to be better than Amir Garrett. So
you think so?
Yeah.
I
don't think Amir Garrett's that good.
Really? I think statistically isn't he much better than Baez statistically?
You have to look, but I'm
trying,
sure
but these great ads on baseball, I need to just buy Baseball Reference because these ads are destroying me. 2020, he had a 2.45 ERA, 10.4.
Garrett?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
10.4 strikeout.
Never mind then.
Yeah, 10.4 strikeout per 9. Career. Man, these ads are killing me. However, okay, I get what you're saying. Career, he's got a 4.89 ERA. I think it's been the last year. So, okay. So here's his ERA last 4 years: 7.39, 4.29, 3.21, 2.47. So they're all drastically dropping down.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah, see,
you could put him there with Baez, though.
He came up as a starter, and now he's a bullpen role, so that's why the ERAs have gone down.
Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah, he was awful as a starter. He had in 14 starts, he had a 7.39. Okay, it's all making sense now. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, that was basically it. Never mind being better than Amir Garrett, but they still need bullpen.
He's still
help.
pretty. Yeah, Baez is still better than people give him credit for. I will say that.
Oh yeah, he is.
Like
he just has two glaring weaknesses.
The problem is
that are important.
That bugged me the most was like, I feel like Roberts tried for the most part, maybe for most players, tried to put them in a situation that would allow them to succeed. The constantly putting Baez in with runners in base, knowing he was not going to succeed, I did not understand that. He had one role, and it was to open up innings with nobody on base. That was Baez's role. And then you let him go until you see that it's not. I'm not saying let him go 2-3 innings. I'm just saying you don't bring him in with no outs and a runner on and then see how long he can go. It just, that didn't ever really work for Baez. So I felt kind of bad for him because he got a lot of blame for that stuff. But it's like, that would have been like putting Jochen to hit against lefties. Like, fans would have been pissed at Roberts, not at Baez, whereas they were more pissed at, I think, Baez than Roberts. So I kind of felt bad for him. But oh God, that's horrible.
I mean, you want to give them a chance to overcome it and succeed, but if it's a continual thing, then you have to just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. So his career inherited runners scored is 32%, which it's not terrible. It's not ideal. However, this year it was only 60 games, but like it was 100%. 3 runners reached, all 3 scored that he faced. Last year it was 33%, but then like freaking 2017, it was 10%. He had 2 runners and he inherited 20 runners in 2017. 2 of them scored. So I don't know what, and that was 2017. So that was when Baez was like on top of it. I don't know what's gone on that he just seems like going back and forth all over the place. Maybe though a change of scenery and on a team where you don't have to always, not saying he has to be the best, but with Jansen struggling, there was a lot of pressure on Baez to step up in those situations for some reason, not in closing, but like, I feel like there was a lot of pressure on Baez to step up than there was a lot of the other guys, not 2020, but like 2019. So maybe some new scenery would do Baez some good and kind of help him switch things up. And again, he didn't even start his career as a pitcher. He learned how to become a pitcher after he was already in baseball. So he's been learning as he goes.
Right. So before we move on, I saw a hypothetical Dodgers trade and I wanted to get your reaction to it. So the Rockies would trade Arenado to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers would trade Keibert Ruiz, Cody Hosey, Tony Gonsolin, Gerardo Carrillo, and Chris Taylor or Zach McKinstry.
Who the fuck wrote that? Like, I just need to know who wrote that. Like, that's wild. I don't care if Nolan Arenado goes, I will play the rest of my career for you. Like, that's crazy. That's a lot to give up. Like, a lot. I don't know.
I didn't think it was enough.
Really? That just seems like so much. To be honest.
But see, here's the thing. It might sound like a lot, but here's why it's fine for the Dodgers to do it.
You're dealing from depth.
They're dealing from a position of depth. So, like, again, like we mentioned, Ruiz is a top catching prospect, but he really has nowhere to play because of Smith. And then Cartia's like hot on his heels. So then of course there's Cody Hosey, who's a third baseman, and if you get Arenado, obviously there will be nowhere for Hosey to play. So you give him to the Rockies. Gonsolin and Carrillo. Gonsolin's shown he's a pretty good starting pitcher. Carrillo is the upside one, kind of like Ken Rosenthal saying that in order for the Red Sox to get Greinke, they need a long prospect, or however he worded it. Someone like that, a long-term prospect like Gerardo Carrillo, and then Chris Taylor or Zach McKinstry, you get MLB ready utility man. So again, I don't think it's enough, but I think it's a good starting point, and the Dodgers obviously do this 100% because they're dealing from depth. They're not really losing all that much. Right now, Gonsolin won't be in the rotation because Price is coming back, and I think May's better than Gonsolin. So Gonsolin would just take over Julio's role in the bullpen.
Here's my thing. It's not so much Nolan Arenado that I want to say. It's the fact that we would give up that much to someone else in our division. That worries me about all of that many players for that when almost, I think everyone besides Gonsolin and Taylor had 6 years of control, correct? It sounded like, so yeah. To me, those are a decent group of guys. Gonsolin's got 5 years, McKinstry's got 6. That's a decent group of guys that could come back and kick our ass for years to come for 4 or 5, 6
honestly,
years.
I would not be worried about this at all. If it was like May or something, I'd be like, I mean, I still might do it, but I'd be worried, but I wouldn't be worried about this, to be honest.
I forgot though.
Cody will be the main one,
but
just because everybody was saying he was like one of the best hitters at the alternate site. So I think there's gonna be no doubt that he's gonna be able to hit.
But let's pause because I feel like your view is very skewed based on what you told me. Now that we won, that's all you can think about. You don't want to keep the prospects. Let's pretend we didn't win this year.
I do.
No, I know. No, I'm saying like you said, you're more excited to win now.
I would do this.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
I would still do this.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. No, I'm just saying like
again, it's coming from if they were dealing someone who they had no death behind. Like I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, where don't they have death?
So I mean, but like again, if it was like a May or something, then it gives you a slight pause because it's like, damn, May has like top of the rotation stuff, so it's a little weary. But if it's just Gonsolin and Carrillo, then I'm like, okay. Now the only thing is if Chris Taylor goes, then you probably have to re-sign Kike. Not really a fan of because you need someone to fill those roles. I mean, I guess McKinstry can, but also everybody knows how I am. I don't like a whole lot of lefties. I want the lineup to be balanced. And Chris Taylor's a righty, and so is Kike. So I think when it's their turn to play, they'll balance the lineup a little bit more. Yeah, and I just for the Rockies, I mean, they could get more, but it makes sense. You get a top catching prospect, you get a highly ranked third base prospect to fill that role for Arenado. You get some good rotation pieces, and you get MLB ready utility help.
Yeah, it's like I said.
The Dodgers, you do this because again, you're dealing from depth, and you now have a top defender in the middle of the order, right-handed bat.
Yeah, like I said, it's absolutely nothing against Arenado. I don't want to make it sound like Arenado's not worth because like he's my favorite player outside. He's a hell of a defensive player. I don't care what his 2020 stats said. I don't want to say I worry. It's a lot of players to give up for one guy. And not even just that, it's the whole Ruiz thing. I'm still I'm very interested to see how that goes because I've been working on player season reviews that I'm actually going to start posting today. And I did Will Smith and I did Austin Barnes. Defensively, Will Smith doesn't even touch Austin Barnes. It's a completely different level. I'm a little slightly worried about what's going on with Smith behind the plate when I looked at his numbers. Like the dude this year, it's 2020, so I don't want to hold it too much, but like he was 6th in his framing percentile was 6th in all of baseball, which is very, very bad. Barnes was like 96th. And like I said, depending on how much you care about catcher ERA, Barnes ERA was like 0.8 points lower. Like
the only thing that matters to me is when it mattered the most, the pitchers wanted to pitch to Barnes. That includes Smith's running mates, Gonsolin and May. I think they'd rather pitch to Barnes as well.
Yeah,
I know people say, "Oh, it's because Barnes has been there longer," and I get that, but
Smith played with May and Gonsolin, like
right, all throughout the minors. And if they're like, "I'd rather pitch to Barnes," then we got some issues here.
Yeah, and my thing is like I never took the whole Kershaw doesn't want to pitch to Smith thing seriously because like that's Kershaw. He's been pitching to Ellis, Barnes, and Grandal his entire career. That's pretty much it for the most part. So I understood that I didn't care about. I didn't take it like there was anything. The biggest thing for me was when Buehler specifically made that comment in the playoffs when he said Barnes was the reason why I got out of that bases loaded jam. Barnes helped call that game. That to me was such an eye-opening comment from Buehler that he was willing to give Barnes that much credit and say it like that, which you'll get pitchers do. Pitchers give their catchers credit. But that to me just seemed so eye-opening because that to me was him basically saying, this is my catcher. This is who I want behind the plate. And Barnes isn't a free agent, so they can keep him. But like knowing you have Ruiz, Do you, like you said, trade him because you don't want to keep him? You're not going to waste him. He's a top prospect. Get something for him. Or do you wait, like we talked about, we discussed Kyber Ruiz is leaving his winter league in December or in January to go start working with the Dodgers strength and conditioning coach come January. Do you wait and see what happens with Ruiz, give him a chance to catch the pitchers, start him in AAA if there's AAA. However, we're going to talk about, well, actually, never mind. That's a draft eligible league, so that doesn't count. If there's a AAA team, and then do you trade Smith before the trade deadline? Or do you trade him and say, screw it, we want Barnes. Now let's give Ruiz time to develop behind Barnes.
Here's the thing. I've always been higher on Ruiz than Smith. Like, always. I don't think the Dodgers see it that way. Now, the last few years, defensively, Smith has, he's hit offensively just fine, but defensively, he's been really bad. And again, we've seen that the pitchers prefer to pitch to Barnes, which is kind of a big deal and a big part of the game. So I don't know if the Dodgers will look at that and think, okay, maybe we should trade Smith. But I just think the Dodgers are higher on Smith than they are Ruiz. So I think that's my only thing. Otherwise, if you replace Ruiz with Smith in this deal, I'd still do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I got nothing. Nothing against Will, but like I've got no reason to care for the Dodgers to hold on to him. I don't know. I'm trying to see. Okay, he was. Yeah. For some reason, I didn't know if he was a catcher his whole career, but I guess I was just looking at college. I guess he
Smith?
was. Yeah.
He
just played other
third, right?
Yeah. And I saw something for like right field, which I didn't know, but yeah. So I don't know. I just looking deeper into those stats, I was not a big fan of seeing. I don't know enough about catcher stats, where to look and all that kind of stuff to really give like a true kind of breakdown on it. But I don't know. It worries me a little bit that the pitchers are so like, I'm glad they like Barnes. I want them to be happy with the pitcher, but it just is a little worrisome to me that they're so pro Barnes and not pro I can work with either of them kind of pitching is how it seems. It doesn't seem like Kershaw wants to give Smith another chance. So I don't know.
I don't blame them. Again, they just statistic. You can even see it. You don't have to even look at stats. You can just see it. The pitchers pitch better and they're more comfortable with Barnes behind the plate than they are Smith. And Barnes, I don't know where his percentile ranks, but I think he's still pretty good at throwing people out too. Barnes is solid. If Barnes could hit, we wouldn't need a catcher.
What are you talking about? If he could hit, Mookie taught him how to hit.
Can
now.
The producer do some catching analysis as a former catcher?
Go for it.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing with Will Smith is pitch calling. It is, in my opinion, atrocious. The shining example I'll say is Blake Trinan. I don't know if you guys noticed when Blake Trinan is throwing to Will Smith is calling high fastballs to a sinker ball pitcher and just couldn't locate and it got hit. And then Blake Trinan comes in with Austin Barnes, low target, and he's throwing the ball well. So to me, it was all pitch calling, and you can definitely see the sequencing differences with Barnes and Smith. And to me, that's what it is.
Yeah. And you're not the first person I've heard say that. I've watched the game with my boyfriend. My boyfriend played in college. He was a pitcher. He played first base. He said the same exact thing. He said Smith pitch calling. It's, I wasn't going to say he called it atrocious. You're the catcher. You would know better. But like looking at it, I get what you're saying because I did see a lot of that. And I was just like, what is going on?
Now that you mentioned
here?
it, I did notice that too.
So
at first I thought it was just trying to missing his spots, but now it was like he was consistently missing. So now that makes a lot more sense.
Well, and you were saying at
Smith
one
was
point
calling it high fastball.
But weren't you also saying at one point that you were kind of frustrated with May because he wasn't mixing his pitches up? And now we're realizing maybe that was Smith calling the same thing over and over to him. That's bunch of fastballs. Fair. Yeah. So I don't want to say it is. I don't want to blame Smith. I'm just going off.
Here's the thing though, because Barnes with Buehler will call a lot of fastballs, but
that's Buehler's out pitch.
Yes. So I feel like even though May has more movement on his fastball, he doesn't get it by hitters like Buehler can get it by hitters.
No, yeah, it's different.
Which is a little weird to me, and I think he throws a little harder. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's also Buehler to me is I don't know with him. He's just like a different beast in different times. Depends. It almost feels like it's when he wants to be very good, he will. That like the other days are like when he doesn't care that much, he's like, I'm gonna work on this and try and make this better. And then he's like, okay, when I need to like lock my shit down, let's go out and do it. It's easy for him for some reason. It's not easy for anybody, but he makes it look easy. Yeah, I don't know.
So now that you brought that up about Smith calling atrocious, it's bringing back, and then you brought up May. Yeah, I can see him really hindering Dustin May in that aspect.
And my one thing for my catcher is obviously I felt a little different.
And Dustin May's young, so he's not going to shake him off either. He'll probably just be like, if this is what he wants, I'll just throw it.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, Smith has more of the experience at the big league level too. He was
been
there a little bit longer.
Buehler's pitching to
Buehler would tell him to fuck all the way.
Fuck off. Yeah,
I'd be like, no. But no. And my biggest thing, like, I think in the playoffs a couple years ago, I kind of changed my mind a little bit, and I would go back and forth. But for the most part, if you ask me, I want my catcher to be able to hit, but it is the least important thing for me. My most important thing when it comes to my catchers is their repertoire with the pitcher and how the pitcher feels about them. If the pitcher is comfortable with that catcher and pitches well, that's what matters. I don't think catchers get enough credit for very good pitched games by pitchers. You see the pitchers get all the credit and people go, oh, well, the catcher didn't do anything. He didn't hit this game. But you got to look at it like, some of that wasn't all the pitcher. The pitcher's throwing the balls, but that pitch calling, sequencing, how you're doing it, that's most of the time, 95, 99% of the time coming from the catcher. So it's something that has to be figured out. But like every day of the week, I'm going to take the guy who's going to help my pitcher, who's out there every single inning contributing, versus my catcher who's okay and can get me one hit out of 4 plate appearances.
So I have a quick question for the producer. Since you're a former catcher, would you put Yadier Molina in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And not just for the reasons of how great he is. Like, he has all the stats to back it up too. You know, just the amount of games that he's caught and just the success that he's had on the field. You know, 2-time World Series champion at that. So. And
I see a lot of people saying that offensively he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but I feel like it goes deeper.
It goes way deeper, and even offensively, you saw during the glory years of the Cardinals in the 2010s just how important he was to that offense.
Yeah.
Maybe not so to the late 2000s, but when he first came up, but he's absolutely a Hall of Famer.
I have no idea who is saying that Yadier Molina can't hit, because I've
even seen writers who say that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
I only hate Yadier Molina for what he's done to us in the playoffs with his bat. Like, I'm confused where this is coming from, that he can't hit. Sure, maybe not recently, but like that dude was killing us all the time, it felt like, in the playoffs. Like, I don't like him because of what he did with his bat.
He's overrated. I just think
it's recency bias.
It goes a lot deeper than that. Yeah. I think he's a hell of a caller, and he gets that pitching staff.
I mean, look at our fan base, and I'm not going to say I didn't do this. You can include myself into this comment. Look how many of us shit on Barnes. And then the second he comes through with a hit, we're like, woo, we love Barnes. But like, some of us are ignoring the fact that like what he's doing with this pitcher, with these pitchers, is like insane. And like, and that's, it's just
I've always said Barnes sucks offensively, but I have always liked Barnes as a backup catcher. So whenever people want to get rid of him, I'm just like, nah, I'll keep him. I think he's one of the better backup catchers in baseball. I don't think, can you really get any better than Barnes?
No,
as a backup catcher.
No, I don't think so. And maybe not hitting, but he's one of the best catchers, defensively as is. But no, I'm right there with you. I think that they're gonna have to figure it out between Ruiz and Smith. So if we could
just get Barnes to hit like Smith, gold.
Yeah, we wouldn't even have. Yeah, there wouldn't even be a question. I don't even need the power. Like, just give me line drives. I don't even need the power. Yeah. But hey, Barnes can lay down a pretty sexy bunt, so I'll give him that. The dude can lay down a bunt, and I appreciate it. Nothing pisses me off more than a baseball player who cannot lay down a bunt. Like, it's the most fundamental thing you are taught in Little League is to lay down a bunt, and it makes me so mad how many guys fail at that.
Another plus for Barnes is he looks like he's always ready to fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He worries me. I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but like Joe and Oral on their podcast would ask every single player when they come on who would win in a cage match. Austin Barnes got the most votes from players and coaches. So yeah, that dude worries me. He's a little, you can see it in his eyes.
And that's concerning because he's small. So the
But
fact
I
that they
love it.
still are like,
I love it coming from my pitcher, because you know if a Dodger pitcher hits someone, like Barnes is not about to he'll tackle that guy before he lets him get to our pitcher. So like I'm all for it. But we are dragging this out a little bit longer. So you did have, we're going to move on to MLB news. If you want to go over the draft league that we heard about.
Yeah, the draft league. So it's going to start in 2021 at the All-Star kind of game thing, because they're having an All-Star weekend. So for as of now, there are 5 teams. There's a talk for a 6th team. There's going to be 4 states: Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New Jersey. The 5 teams so far are the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, the State College Spikes, the Trenton Thunder, the West Virginia Black Bears, and the Williamsport Crosscutters. Now, if the Trenton Thunder sounds familiar, they used to be the AA team of the Yankees, and Williamsport is obviously the city that hosts the Little League World Series. They're planning a 68 game schedule for right now. I don't know how that's going to work, but yeah, they're planning a 68 game schedule. And my personal opinion, this just feels like a alternate route, like a not a better, but a different way to prepare for the next level. Because like in college, they still use the metal bats, and here you would use a wooden bat. And they were saying that this is just a modernized way for players to develop. I feel like it's much like basketball. Like a lot of the top high school players aren't going to college anymore. They'll either go play overseas for a year or play in the G League for a year, because they're playing with grown men, and it's going to help them adjust to the speed and physicality of the NBA faster and help them be better prepared. So I think this is just an alternate route for the MLB to do the same thing.
Yep, and it'll be exciting, interesting to watch. I think it's cool. I think the more MLB can do to get guys out there and playing, the better. I actually forgot to mention this. You remind me when you started talking about it. Speaking of affiliations and stuff like that, as of yesterday, it is official. The Dodgers are no longer affiliated with the Ogden Raptors. They are starting their own, not them, but with a couple other teams. They're going to do their own league of their own. So unfortunately, the Dodgers will not be
a Pioneer League or something.
Yeah, something along those lines, like 5 teams, something like that. So basically, I mean, hopefully they can get guys playing. I feel really bad because I know there's a lot of Dodger fans in Utah that love to go to Ogden, and when guys would, I mean, like
I'm going to be honest, I had no idea where Ogden was.
Yeah, well, I don't think most people did. I only knew because I went to Utah last year and saw an Ogden sign. So that's the only reason why I knew. But yeah, I'm a little bummed. It was always on my bucket list to hit up all the Dodger affiliations. And I mean, Raptors, it was a pretty badass hat. I mean, it was a Raptor. So a little bit of a bummer there, but I guess it is what it is.
So they're low single A, right?
Rookie. They're rookie.
Okay, so
yeah,
what
the loons are low
low.
loons.
Okay.
So and then
it's
Rancho. Yeah, but see, now Rancho's switching to low A, I think. Potentially. They don't know for sure. This is a whole conversation. If you want to look at it,
you sent me that. I remember seeing that, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, JP Hoonstra tweeted it out like last week. He at first said the Dodgers were going to be affiliated with the Spokane Indians, which of course pissed a lot of people off because nobody wants the name Indians in baseball anymore, let alone with Dodger fans who have been so passionate about stuff like that. And then he backtracked and said that is actually not true. However, they are still talking about changing up affiliates. So Rancho might become low A moving forward. It just depends. It's because of all the cuts that are going on with affiliations, unfortunately. But
Tulsa and Oklahoma are staying, right?
Yeah. OKC and Tulsa are locked in. They already said nothing's changing with them. So nothing's changing there, which is good because those are fairly close. And I've always been trying to go on a quick trip and hit both those at the same time.
I like to go to Rancho games because it was closer to LA, obviously. So that's been unfortunate if they do.
No. They'll still be Dodgers and they'll still be in Rancho. They're just not going to be high A. Yeah, it's still going to be the Dodgers. They'll still be in Rancho. It's just going to become instead of going to, I think, like Ogden and then the Loons, they'd go from the Loons to the like, you would skip Ogden and Loons would become, I think, the new Ogden or something like that. I don't know. All I know is they'll still be the Dodgers affiliate. They just may not be the same ranking. Like they may end up being a different ranking.
So it'll go Loons, Rancho, and then something else.
I think it might be something like that. Yeah. But there's some teams who are refusing to follow MLB's rules and like make their decision about whether or not they're going to stay an affiliate. I don't know. Apparently they're not, like, it's not the same. I know they're not the same thing, but they don't like each other, it seems like. So I don't know what is actually happening, but this is all part of them cutting out like 40 minor league teams, unfortunately. So not great for the sport, especially not when those games would cost people freaking $5 to go see some of their favorites. Like it was a huge deal last year.
Some of these teams are like all you said. Ogden's going to start their own league. Maybe if they all do that, they can still.
They'll still have some players. Yeah, you're just not going to like have they'll still have baseball. They'll still have good players, and they'll have guys that'll end up probably in the big leagues at some point. You're just not going to have the excitement of a player. I don't want to say the excitement of a player getting hurt, but of a rehab. Like last year when Verdugo went to Ogden, that was a huge deal for fans to be able to go see him play in a game there. Yeah. And it's like, now you think of,
I've been to Rancho so many times to watch Kershaw and even Hanley Ramirez when he was hurt.
Yeah, and Rancho's easier because it's closer, but there still were times that they would send players to Ogden, and like I feel really bad for the Dodger fans that like now don't get that chance to see their favorite players. At least like for Rancho, it was like Dodger Stadium's an hour away, so it's like we got the best of both worlds, and I feel bad like Utah. They're just like, screw you guys, you get nothing. So that much is a bummer. So no more Raptors. Back to MLB news. This is nothing actually exciting, just to keep you guys updated with what's going on. The Royals have signed Mike Minor to a 2-year deal, and they've signed outfielder Michael Taylor to a 1-year deal. So yeah, just baseball. Everything's moving a little slow. Hopefully it'll speed up with the non-tender deadline tomorrow, winter meetings next week. But again, with COVID, I wouldn't get your hopes up that we're going to see any quick movements. And even without COVID, baseball sucks at being quick about anything. So with that said, I've got nothing else. Did you have anything else to say?
Nope, that's it.
Cool.
I have a quick question on something earlier. The non-tender deadline is 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So 5 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
It's a little later in the day.
Cool. Perfect. So keep your eyes out. We'll find out. Not too worried about the Dodgers. Maybe they'll non-tender Scott Alexander. No offense. Don't really care what they decide to do with him. So we'll see what happens there. We'll talk more about it next week. As always, we appreciate you guys leaving ratings and reviews. If you haven't, please do on Apple. Give us a follow on all of our social media at Dodger Yard. And you can find me at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can find our personal at Michael Konu, MyKalKonu. And
we really appreciate you guys' support, especially in the off season. There's not much going on, but every time you guys tune in, we appreciate it. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. If not, we will catch you guys next week. Bye guys.
See you later, guys.